Boom. Move on. Let's talk education. So this thing, and who wrote this? Let me pull it up real quick. Luis Ricardo Mendez. This is pretty much taking a pad of fla-fla and then running different accent patterns through it. But what I found super definitely original about it is something he says early on in the article is usually when you flam, you accent the main note. You have a grace note and then an accent. Yeah. That's what's creating the flam. So he's asking you to bring the dynamics down on that accent so the flams are a little more flat. And I don't mean flat as far as not having a click to them, but I just mean dynamically they're a little more even. And then you have room to have accents stick out inside the single. So if you don't know what a pad of fla-fla is, think of just alternating single strokes. You have a flam on the downbeats, the numbers, as well as the uhs. So flam, tap, tap, flam, tap, tap, flam, tap, tap, flam. Thomas Lang pointed out to me that it should be called a fla-pata-fla because the flaw is the flam. He's like, you Americans ruined this. And I'm like, I didn't do it. I had nothing to do with this. This was out way before I was around. So pata fla fla should be 2 singles and 2 flams.
It probably started as 2 singles followed by 2 flams. Come on, Thomas.
Right.
Come on. It's just the phrasing of it is more interesting to do the flam on the outside.
Kind of the way that we've completely turned the 6-stroke roll into a triplet-based thing.
Yeah, right.
But that it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
So there we go. All right, so pata fla fla, you've got a flam followed by 2 singles, another flam as 16th notes. So glet da da glet glet da da glet glet da da glet glet. So he's saying, let's take that samba feel that would be played on the bass drum. Doom 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 doom. We'll use that as the flams, alternating 16th notes, gives us the pata fla fla, and then you start putting in accent patterns that show up in those single strokes, not the non-flams. I got to say, totally new concept to me. I've never done that on a pad.
I mean, when this came in unsolicited, and as soon as I saw it, I'm like, this is one of those perfect articles where you look at it, like, that makes sense. It's easy. Let me try it. Oh my God, my hands can't do any of this. Like I was tapping for a while, and I was shocked. I was just trying to do, I guess on this, it would be, where is it? It's when he starts the grid. So number 8. So putting the accent on the E.
On the E, yeah. And I was shocked at how hard that was. And he's right. You do have to bring those flams down in volume for that accent to stick out. And so, yeah, that was pretty big kid stuff. And what I love about this is it's another example of, have you really gone down the rabbit hole with the basics?
Yeah.
Because if you said, what about the pata fla fla? I would say, I learned it in 7th grade. I've been doing it ever since.
And everybody would play it the same way. Boom,
and I've played it exactly. I've played it the exact same way. I could do it over any ostinato, and
I could even play
chop
it as
off
triplets.
2 16ths at the end and do it in 7/8. And then it's like, cool. Can you just accent the E's? Yeah, no problem. Fletting? Nope.
Yeah.
Fletting? Nope.
And he goes into like accent every 3rd, 16th, while not changing where the flams are located. I think that's the important part. Is the flams are always on the downbeat and the but the accents are every 3rd, 16th.
Right.
It looks intellectually, I'm like, of course I can do that. My hands had no idea what the heck was happening. No idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing he brings in is like a Brazilian clave on number 4. Number 4 and number 5, where you've got 1 E, a 2 E, and a 3 E, and a 4 E, and a 1 E, and a 2. And that, so I hadn't scrolled down enough to see that he was going to eventually build me up to that. I was like, wait, that's the first, I can't, no, I can't do it. So it was really cool. He kind of says, okay, here's the home run right up top.
Yeah.
And then says, all right, calm down. Let's develop this. And then he takes you through the downbeats, the E's, the ands, the uhs. Then 2 notes starting on the downbeats, the E's, the ands, and uhs, which is really cool. I mean, it's your basic new breed grid system, whatever you want to call it. But I was really impressed with this.
Yeah,
I mean, impressed with how much my hands couldn't do it.
You could do the same thing with any flam rudiment, any rudiment really. Paradiddles.
Absolutely.
Can you move the accents through the paradiddles at will?
Yeah,
it's a challenging. I like this because this one concept, you're done. You don't need a technique book for the next 5 years. You can just say, okay, what's everything that I know? Double stroke roll. Can you move an accent to any place in a double stroke roll? Mm-hmm. And that can take a month to kind of exhaust it. And then what about the paradiddle? What about, just go through each thing. It's like, all right, I don't need a snare drum book. I'm kind of good for the next year.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things too that you have to be mature enough to understand that the things that you play on the pad, you don't get to run straight to the drum set and figure out the coolest chop with it. You won't know the benefit of this exercise probably for months. Really what you're getting out of this is massive amounts of control. Yeah. So whatever you do play on your drum set, you have more control over it. It's so common, I'm sure you've dealt with this as a teacher, but in private lessons, when you're teaching on the pad, it's really common for the student to say, so what can you do with that on the kit? I'm like, just we're not there right now. This is just called a downstroke. It'll show up. It will show up. And they're like, well, what's the fast version of it? It's like, no, it's just that.
Yeah.
Now pick. So I mean, I wouldn't, if I was playing this, I wouldn't rush over to the kit to see, okay, I'm going to do this patafla-fla while accenting a Brazilian clave rhythm, and I'm going to play that all over the kit. I think that a lot of times these control exercises that teach you, massive amounts of control, I think that those exercises show up. They show up in your grooves. They show up in your fills. They show up in your soloing. They show up in different ways.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be deliberate. With these in particular, though, I think of something Dom Famularo, in his old video of 1980 or whatever it was. He had a flam pattern, and then he played it, splitting the hand between the ride cymbal and the snare drum. All of a sudden, you've got a syncopated samba groove. That would be about as far as I would go with applying these exact patterns to the drums. Even then, I think you might be, your grace notes might get sloppy, your accents might not be as distinct. I would keep it on the pad. This isn't something I would necessarily, maybe snare drum with the samba
but even
foot
still,
thing.
You're going to sound like you're taking a pad exercise to the kit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, please don't think that just because you worked on something on the pad that it's not beneficial to you unless you can directly move it to the kit. It doesn't work that way. You're working on control. You're working on telling your hands what to do. I mean, think about what Mike said earlier when we started this, or what both of us said. We've been playing most of our lives, and we can easily read this. We totally conceptually understand it, and our hands couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find more and more things that our brain knows what to do, our body won't do it. We're going to break down those barriers and have more freedom on the instrument, so that if an idea ever does creep into our head, or for some reason we're going blah blah do blah 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 do blah 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 do blah blah, and we want to hit some punches with the band, we have the freedom to do that.
Yep.
That's probably one of the lamest things that you can have happen to you as a drummer, or probably even as a musician, is that you're smart enough to think about something, but you're not physically good enough to pull it off.
Yeah.
That's torture.
That's torture. But for me, that's good, because it means your thinking is ahead of your playing, and you have a goal, rather than you just work on the physical side of drumming. You have no concept. You just blow notes everywhere, which I've seen that battle both back and forth.
Sure. And I've told a lot of my students, as they're getting better and better at the instrument, generally your drummer brain is going to be about a year to 2 years ahead of your drummer body. And that's so, because they're always searching for, like, when do you just go, yeah? I'm like, oh, never, ever. Because your brain keeps developing and your body can't keep up with it. So you always feel like you're behind the eight ball all the time.
Yeah, that's
And then if you have drumming idols that are in the drum world, that sucks because they practice as much as you do. So the distance between you and them stays the same all the time. Having drumming idols that are just band guys, you can lap them within 2 years. Fine. And they're like, I'm just going to stay in my rock band and keep playing my beats. You will pass them up, no problem. If your drumming idol happens to be named David Alan Weckel, that's not his middle name. But if Uncle Dave is one of your idols, you're in trouble, man, because that dude practices every day.
Yeah. Well, it's been reassuring for me is I go back and listen to records or watch videos that a year ago I was like, I want to be able to do that. I don't know what the heck they're doing. Excuse me. And a year later, I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I can hear the phrasing. I know exactly what they're doing. Like, whatever I've been working on has actually gotten me to that level. That's rewarding. Yeah. But then at that point, I'm bored with that. So now I'm looking at the next thing. I was talking to my friend, student Nate, about this, and he was like, talking about the single stroke. Well, I'm like, you'll never be good at it. It's just like running. You can get better, but you never get good at it. Right. You just have to embrace the fact that it's always going to suck.
Think about somebody like Carter, who, I mean, how many people can we celebrate their single strokes? Like, and that's, by the way, for anyone that's brand new to drumming, or if you're in the car right now with a drummer and you don't play drums, A single stroke roll is right, left, right, left.
Ad nauseum. Yeah.
And we're all bad at it.
Yeah.
And then, like, when somebody can do right, left correctly, we celebrate them like they're a freaking god. It's unreal, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I've heard some of the best drummers in the world in these drum festivals that I play go for a single stroke roll and go
it's you're
and
never
I'm like,
good at
oh
it.
man.
I think the problem is we always automatically go like overdrive. Like, how fast can we freaking do it?
Right.
What I've
it would have been
realized,
fine at 70%.
Yeah, I'm listening back to my recordings of myself. What I think is a slow roll, when I listen back, you perceive it a lot faster from an audience perspective. So that's what I'm having to tell myself is it doesn't, just because it's a single stroke roll, it doesn't mean I have to be maxed out sprinting the whole time.
Now, do you play your single stroke rolls as a subdivision, or do you just turn your fingers on and go?
I don't do that ever anymore. I don't allow myself to just go. That is removed from all possibilities for me right now. So it's going to have to be some kind of a subdivision that I'm aware of what I'm doing. Because for me, I don't want that, like, I'm at the edge of a cliff and I have no idea how to get off it feeling.
Yeah,
like
no, you always jump out. It's like... And no matter what, it doesn't even matter where you are in the roll, you will jump out on your right hand. Even if it means you have to go past the bar line.
Yeah,
you're
exactly. Then you're a 64th
No one leaves
off.
it on their left hand.
That's
right, exactly.
That's what I would ever want to have happen. So, and that's another kind of tendency of mine to kind of stretch in and out of time and not be aware of it. It's more like let me feel what happens when I slow down. I'm like, nah, don't do that. You're not Zach Danziger. You're like, don't freaking do it.
Right. Yeah. No, it's big kid stuff. Well, Luis, thank you for your article. Thank you for getting Mike and I stuck on single strokes after your Flam accent article. I didn't mean Flam accent the room, it meant Flams and accents. And check it out, guys, because like we said, it's one of those things that you look at and you go, oh yeah, I got this. And then you're looking for the trick. You start looking through it like, well, where's the weird sticking? Because it can't just be single strokes with Flams. And it's like, no, it is. It's just pata-fla-fla, and then those accents trip you up big. So I thought it was a great article. It's called Flam Ostinatos, A Creative Approach to a Drumming Staple by Luis Ricardo Mendez. Good stuff. All right. You ready to talk about Mr. Yost?